Hi. One of the movies that I've been watching recently, now that we all have a bit more time on our hands, was The Pink Panther 2. Um, the Pink Panther has a very long history in cinema. It was, of course, originally Peter Sellers' um, co-starring production in 1964, 1963, I should say. Originally a vehicle for David Niven. Sellers had a supporting role, but he stole the movie so completely as Inspector Clouseau that he immediately got his own spin-off movie, A Shot in the Dark, which was released only a couple of months later. Um, there was a further Clouseau film in 1968 called Inspector Clouseau with future Oscar winner Alan Arkin in the lead role, and in the mid-70s the character was revived with Sellers having a career comeback for The Return of the Pink Panther, Pink Panther Strikes Again, Revenge of the Pink Panther. It had been intended the series would continue, but Sellers died in 1980, so in 1982 we got Trail of the Pink Panther, which cobbles together unused footage from the previous two films with new material about the hunt for the missing Inspector Clouseau. That was made back-to-back with Curse of the Pink Panther, in which a new world's worst detective goes on the hunt for Clouseau. At the end of the movie, finds him without realising it's really him, because Clouseau has had plastic surgery and is now played by Roger Moore at the height of his Bond fame. And Moore is terrific. Both those movies flopped. We got yet another one in 1993 with Son of the Pink Panther, with another future Oscar winner, Roberto Benigni, playing Clouseau's son, Jacques Gambrelli. And the film is quite fun, but not great. It was Blake Edwards' last film. And then finally in the 2000s we got a remake of the original film with Steve Martin as Clouseau and co-writing the script. That did well enough to prompt this, the final Pink Panther film to date, The Pink Panther 2. So, there is a series of jewel thefts going on around Europe, performed by someone calling themselves the Tornado. Various detectives from across the continent get together to offer their assistance, as well as one from India played by Aishwarya Rai. We have an Italian played by Eddie Garcia. We have an Englishman played by Alfred Molina. And we have a Frenchman played by Steve Martin, Inspector Clouseau. And much of the film is not terribly good. It does gain a little more ground in the second half, where it seems like the writers realise that there need to be some more jokes in this film. But it seems to just suffer the same problem as the first Steve Martin film, which is that it's quite poorly written and not funny, but is enlivened by having some scenes of slapstick or material that's clearly been worked up by Martin on the set. So there are two really funny set pieces in the first Martin film. In the second, there's one bit that's clearly ad-libbed on the set, which it's sort of like a musical number gag with him and his assistant played by Jean Reno, but it's so laboured and unfunny, and I was just felt like it was there to fill time. But towards the end, we do get some more humorous elements, some more gags. We get to see Andy Garcia getting his bum stuck in a bin, which is quite funny. John Cleese replaces Kevin Kline as Clouseau's superior, Chief Inspector Dreyfus, played in the original films by Herbert Lom. But while Kline was very much giving it sort of the Fish Called Wanda type proper performance in a wacky comedy movie and sort of striking that balance, Cleese is basically playing himself. He's not even bothering with an accent, whereas Steve Martin is going full on with the comedy French accent. Overall, it's not a great film. I've said, I think, in the past that I'm a big fan of Sellers, and he's my favourite actor. But most of the Pink Panther films leave me cold. A Shot in the Dark is a classic, and the original film is quite good fun. But most of the others are pretty bland and almost gruesome in seeing this aging, clearly unwell man forcing himself through these pratfalls. It's a bit like, if Norman Wisdom was still doing slapstick comedies in his 80s, even though Sellers was barely in his 50s then, but he aged very, very quickly due to his thousands of heart attacks. The issue is simply that there was never enough to grab onto, and although Martin is a good choice to take over as Clouseau because he's a very talented clown, he's very gifted as a wit and a writer, he still can't make it work as a natural comic work. Rather than make it work, make this particularly work. He's done many other great pieces of work. Bit of sunlight dazzle there. So it's passable for some of the later elements, but you have to stick with it over the halfway mark. But overall, I would probably watch something else.